Talk Show. Recorded live.
Hello and welcome to Castle of Horror, the show dedicated to horror, movies, and awesomeness. This week we continue our series of discussions of movies in the fairly recent found footage genre with Paranormal Activity from 2007. Bear in mind, if you haven't seen today's movie, we're going to be talking about it from the perspective of horror fans who have, so warning, spoilers ahead. From Denver, Colorado, I'm your host, Jason Henderson, creator of the Alex Van Helsing novels. With me from Austin is Tony Salvaggio, lead singer of the band Deserts of Mars, and co-creator of the comics Psycom from Tokyopop, Clockworks from Humanoids. Say hello, Tony.
Howdy.
Howdy! Also in Austin is Drew Edwards, writer for Rockabilly Online, creator and writer of the long-running comic Halloween Man. Say hello, Drew.
My name is Emilio Montoya. This movie killed an hour and a half of my life. Prepare to die.
I'm sorry you feel that way. Although, actually, it's always enjoyable when you feel that way. And finally, also in Denver, as always, color commentary from attorney Julia Guzman. Say hello.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir. Okay. Once again, today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/horror. That's audibletrial.com/horror. If you want to support the show, check it out. They have over 180,000 titles to choose from for your mobile device. Okay, according to Wikipedia, Paranormal Activity is a 2007 American found-footage supernatural horror film, which is now a thing at this point. Written, co-produced, photographed, edited, directed by Mr. Oren Peli. It is the first entry of the Paranormal Activity film series. The film centers on a young couple, Katie and Mika, who are haunted by a supernatural presence in their home. It is presented in the style of found footage from cameras set up by the couple in an attempt to document what is haunting them. Originally developed as an independent feature and given film festival screenings in 2007, it was acquired by Paramount Pictures and modified. We're going to talk about the fact that it actually has several endings, a couple of which are on the DVD. It is the most profitable film ever made based on return on investment, so says Wikipedia. So
I thought it was Blair Witch Project.
But this is about the investment.
Oh.
Paramount acquired this thing for $350,000, and it has made $193 million. So that actually worked out pretty well for them. Mm-hmm. But, as Wikipedia points out, such figures are difficult to verify independently. So, and it's likely to exclude marketing costs. So who knows? I think we can all agree, though, this is actually a very popular film. And I am a newbie to this universe of found footage films. So, it's one of the few that I'm familiar with. So, okay, let's get our opening thoughts. Last week we started with Drew. This week
you started with me last week.
You started with me? Oh, well, but Drew's going to trash the movie. So the question is, do we have him go first and then we all sort of react, or do we have him go second to last so that he has a chance to react? Drew, do you want to go first or do you want to react?
Well, that's kind of like a choice between. All right, I'll go first.
Okay, go, man.
Okay, normally this is my philosophy about criticism, is that you try to find even the things that you do like in a film that you don't like a film that you don't like very much. Tonight, all of that is going out of the window. I hate this movie. If this movie was a person, I would rip its still beating heart out and eat it in front of it while it was slowly dying. And this person would deserve to see that, because I have no doubt in my mind that the people who made this movie are horrible people for making this piece of crap.
Wow.
This movie is not scary, has no atmosphere. The boyfriend character is quite possibly the biggest jerk in the history of horror films, which is saying a lot. I want to throttle. I wish this movie was a person so I could throttle it. I love you, Jason, but I am in fact slightly mad that I was made to watch this. I now know how Julia feels so many a times. I feel like I threw myself not only on a bullet for the team, but I felt like I threw myself on thousands of poison-tipped bullets watching this movie. It was painful. It was awful. The characters are terrible. It's not scary. And furthermore, just, I'm getting mad just thinking about this movie. My wife actually put it best. This movie is fucking lame. I love my wife. She's a very smart lady.
All right.
I'm done now.
No. I think that's a good starting place. I think we've laid down some markers with that. Okay, so let's set that aside and move. If you can move down on the couch, we'll turn now to Julia. This is wonderful. It feels like therapy. Julia, what were your thoughts about Paranormal Activity 1?
I'm going to read from the IMDb trivia. It says, during the first test screenings, people started leaving the theater. Originally, the crew thought it was because the film wasn't going over very well with the audience, only to discover that people left the auditorium because they couldn't handle the intensity of the piece. Steven Spielberg had to stop watching the film halfway through on his home screener as he was genuinely spooked by the experience. He completed it in daylight hours the next day and loved it. This is my response to Drew thinking it's not scary. I think it's scary as hell. I think it just depends on your worldview, and my worldview totally allows for creepy-ass ghosts that just kind of hang out in your house and torment you. So I'm scared stiff by this film.
We'll get into my rebuttal to that. We'll get into my rebuttal to that once we get into the actual movie.
I think is this movie scary is actually going to be our first topic. Tony, lay it on us. Are you anywhere in those extremes for this movie?
I'm actually somewhere between that. I wasn't really super looking forward to reviewing the movie. I thought there was some decent creepy bits, and I think it's kind of interesting what they were trying to do with it. However, like Drew said, the boyfriend is a complete jackass.
Yeah.
And isn't he like one of the people who helped make the movie? Like, isn't it his film, if I'm not mistaken?
Is he? No, he's an actor. He's not.
Oh, okay.
He's not Pelly. He's not Pelly, the guy.
Oh, I thought for some reason. Anyway.
I've read stuff that makes it sound that way, but I think it's just kind of...
Yeah, and that's what I guess I was confused with until I read up, yeah. But yeah, that guy, oh, what an ass. Like, I mean, just, you know, I remember now when I watched it the first time, and I thought, this is the couple that you know you just do not want to hang out with. Like, you hang out, and you're like, oh, well, maybe we hadn't hung out a while. Oh, yeah, that's why we don't hang out. Like, they're the couple in your life that's like that, and especially that guy. I mean,
yes.
Oh, I think there's a few legitimately creepy bits in it, and I thought that was kind of cool. I didn't think it was unscary like Drew. I thought it was, I didn't think it was scary. I thought it was really creepy in parts. But most of it was me kind of like finger on the fast forward. I didn't, but at the time I was like, okay, when's the next creepy part? Because I'm really tired of watching these people in between creepy parts. And, you know, that didn't really change when I saw the movie again. So, I mean, I kind of dig the shtick a little bit in some ways, but, you know, as far as scariest movie ever and all of that stuff, not really for me. But, you know, it was creepier because I caught the hype well afterwards. You know, on a lark, I was like, well, I better see what people are talking about. And in that respect, it was creepier than I thought it was going to be, but it wasn't the be-all, end-all of creepy like people kind of made it out to be.
All right, I'll accept that. You know what, I'm going to skip my opening thoughts because they're sort of all over the place. I'd rather go straight to, instead of is this movie scary, I instead want to talk about these two main characters, then we'll go to are they scary, because I really have, what I'm picking up from the group is this movie would be a lot scarier if I didn't hate these characters. So the main character...
I don't hate the girlfriend.
You don't hate the girlfriend?
I feel bad for
right,
her.
Let's talk about this.
She is married to a walking, living with a walking scrote who, despite the fact that he believes in ghosts and believes in demons, is unwilling to go get qualified help because for some reason he thinks that this demonologist is some kind of hoaxer, even though...
I'll tell you exactly why. He's a complete schmuck. But the reason he's a schmuck, here's what's funny, is they set this guy, oh God, what a schmuck. This guy, I think we're supposed to think that he's a jerk, and but I can't really tell. I think that's the confusion.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. I mean, the thing is, this guy who owns this giant house, we hear he's a day trader. That's just code in this movie for this guy makes way more money than he needs to. He can buy all the toys, and it means that he thinks he's literally the smartest person on the planet. He has all the money and all the time to have a giant house and a girlfriend who doesn't have to work, and all he does is just hang out and be a bro. He is a total bro.
He's the typical 21st century yuppie scrote bag.
He's completely obnoxious, but all of that means that he has interpreted the signs that the world is giving him to assume that he literally knows everything that he reads about. And so that means that, yeah, he's never dealt with ghosts before, but he just read a book that's mostly pictures, and so therefore don't call that Exorcist. I got this figured out, baby. It's the craziest...
He has no plan, though. His plan is to keep filming. How is he going to get rid of a demon with a camera? So he's got more proof. He's got so much proof, he could take that anywhere. He's got a Ouija board lighting itself on fire on camera. He could take that anywhere and get...
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Funded, not just help, funded help. He has irrefutable proof of demons on camera.
When the movie starts, they've already... This is different from Blair Witch, for instance. The movie starts, he's bought the camera because weird shit is going on, and his girlfriend has already told him the whole plot. Says, yeah, I got this thing that follows me out through my whole life. And he's like, awesome, let's get that on film. But you're right, he doesn't have a goal.
Again, like a jerk. That's crazy. That's, A, can we get you some help? B, are you sure? Like, in any of the other things, instead he's like, oh, man, that would be a great idea. This is a great time for me to buy some cameras. I was looking for this excuse.
This is the reason why I don't hate the girlfriend. I pity her. I'm a little annoyed with her because this is the guy she chooses to shack up with, this walking testicle of a man.
Right.
But
true. Well, Sonia can tell us, why is this guy so attractive beyond his physical attractiveness, which is I'm sure profound. But what is the deal? Why is this woman, this reasonably intelligent woman, presumably, we see her making beads. She says that she's an English major. But my point is, why is she here? Why hasn't she left? What's going on?
Let me give you a couple things. One, she's a student. He's super rich, so she's got free room and board, and he's really cute. He's probably pretty good in bed. Plus, women have this. Many women, most women, maybe not most women, many women have this need to win over guys who are jerks. So, to prove that they're special or something, or maybe they were abused as children, and so they're trying to repair that relationship with their parents with this person. But it's very typical to find, and I think both genders really, it's very typical to find one person who is kind of abusive and jerky to the other person, and then the other person worships them and wants desperately to try to please them and make them like them or try to convince them of something. It's just, it's pretty compulsive. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's atypical at all.
Well, while the psychology of that is realistic, I don't want to watch that for an hour and a half, and that makes up the bulk of there's very little actual supernatural stuff in this movie. The bulk of this movie is him being a dick to his girlfriend.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's the couple, because if you know these broham kind of dudes, and you've seen enough of their girlfriends who a lot of times will be nice enough. And again, you are in real life, why is she with this jackass? I mean, other than what you're talking about, I guess he's rich and attractive. I guess that counts for something. But man, he can do so much better than that.
There's plenty of men who are with really bitchy women too. I mean, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, that's not the couple you want to hang out with, and yet that's. I mean, that was one of my big takeaways when I first saw the movie. Was oh man, these people. Oh, I've gotten rid of most of these people from my life. I feel a lot better.
It's funny if this was the Friday the 13th movie, these two would be like cannon fodder, and they would have been dead in the first 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah, they would have been like probably at second at most.
Mercifully so.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. I mean, but if this were a summer camp movie, these would be the bad guys from like across the lake who everybody hates. This guy is a wedgie-giving dude who would be from the rich camp who comes in and terrorizes all the people that we like, and absolutely he would end up getting a spear through his head. I mean, I guarantee it. You know, but what's so painful in this film is watching him. Every single thing that this girlfriend says, everything. Like, well, I think we should call these people or whatever. He'll go, no, baby, that's not necessary. And she's like, yeah, but you're not listening. You're not listening to the fact that this has been bothering me for years. And he's like, I think that sounds really stupid, baby. And
promise me you won't buy a Ouija board. Yeah, that's cool. I'll just borrow a Ouija board.
God, God. You know, the only thing I could think is, well, maybe this is like a Star Trek episode, and he's being subtly perverted by the evil in the house. But I don't think so.
No. You're giving him too much credit. There's nothing subtle about this person.
I think he's a dick the moment. So anyway, here's what we're stuck with is we have these two characters. So let me ask you this profound philosophical question: do you have to like the main characters of your horror movie? Is that a fair question to ask?
Not if one of them's going to end up dead at the end. It's probably a good idea if you don't like him, so that you're not too sad.
I don't know.
No. For the way this movie is set up, they should have at least been, again, take a few lessons from Blair Witch. Give the characters enough humanity to where you care about their suffering. I did not care about these people at all. I vaguely felt bad for the girlfriend for her poor life choices, and the fact that I actually felt less bad by the fact that she's tormented by a demon than the fact that this was her boyfriend and that she had chosen that for herself.
Yeah.
That's saying something.
So those are our main characters, Mika and oh God, now it's Katie. I'm sorry. How can I forget the name Katie? It's the most obvious name in the world. So I'm sorry.
What's that supposed to mean?
No, that's my point is that's just the effect of talking live is that you know, obvious details like Katie, which is not a complicated name to remember, unlike Mika, really. It just went straight out of my head. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so those are our main characters. Okay, so I think I know what you guys are going to say, but explain this to me, because I've watched a lot of horror movies. You've watched a lot of horror movies, all of you. I thought this movie was scary. You didn't think it was scary. So is this scary? And if not, why not?
I mean, personally, I thought it had a lot of creepy stuff in it. I was, unlike Drew, I was actually surprised because I was really just like, I wish everybody would shut the hell up about this movie. Because like I said, I came into it really late in the game. And was like, well, you know, I guess it's got a bunch of creepy moments, and it was creepy. Oh, I guess it depends on which ending, because there's multiple endings. But I saw one of the creepy endings and was like, wow, man, you know, I watched it late at night by myself. There was some creepy stuff in it. The atmosphere stuff, like the
atmosphere.
I don't know.
Never mind.
Like,
I'm gonna let you talk. I'll get my chance.
Like there's stuff in there that is truly, like, if that was happening, would be truly genuinely creepy.
Right.
Right. And I kind of put myself into that, which is what you're supposed to do with found
footage. An example. What if
well, like
where
house. She's, I mean, just her walking around, you don't know what's going to happen. The sheets flying off, which we have a common friend who said that I think it was his uncle or parents. They moved into a house. The sheets one night flew off as if being pulled. They got rid of that house very quickly, you know. So I was thinking about stuff like that, and so that was like, wow, that would be really creepy, and kind of fell into that.
Exactly. Yeah, me too. I mean, that's what I've heard.
Okay, the one that works for me is the light flicking on and off at the end of the hall, which is, by the way, the cheapest special effect ever made by a human being. But the light flicking on and off at the end of the hall was literally, that gives me chills even now when I say it. Drew is rolling.
And I was also surprised I
am grinding my teeth right now is what I'm doing.
Okay, but I was actually surprised they actually even tried to add an element of like, yeah, leaving the house isn't going to do any good.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was like, oh, okay. But there's tons. I mean, on the flip side, I can understand where Drew's coming from, because there was tons where I was just like, oh, like I said, hand on the fast forward button. Should I just keep watching? Should I fast forward it?
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
Okay.
So yes. Drew,
okay.
No. Go ahead.
I hate to throw it all the way back to Blair Witch, but Blair Witch has gobs of atmosphere. It's shot in a very similar way, but you have the folklore, you have like the little details like the twig men or the bundle with the teeth in it, like actually just stuff that's creepy. This movie is trying to be like a movie like, oh, we're not going to rely on special effects. We're going to mess with your mind, except it is wall to wall, just all sizzle and no steak. Here's a Ouija board lighting on fire. That's scary. Here's some scary noises. It's like going to like a haunted house, and like one of those cheaply done haunted houses you see, or like somebody built a haunted house out of their own home. That's what this movie is. It's just, and again, the artfulness of the way Blair Witch was shot actually lended some atmosphere. This really is just like watching somebody's home movies. And I know that's kind of the idea of a found footage movie, but you have to have at least like a naked level of production, like enough production value, like enough of a thought process behind the way your movie looks, where it's not irritating, like you're watching. Maybe it's because I was a security guard at one point, but that's what it reminded me of, is watching security footage at the end of the day and just feeling annoyed at like hours of nothing. And that's what this has the aesthetic of. And they should have at least had to have some invisible level of aesthetic to give this movie some kind of style and some kind of atmosphere. Because I'm sorry, pulling a sheet off of somebody is not going to frighten me if you haven't worked into my mind in some way. I never lost myself in this movie, not for a second. The whole time I just felt detached from it. And when I watch a movie, I'm not somebody that is hateful towards even mediocre movies. I really pride myself on that. I want to be lost in the film. But this movie is just sickening in its lack of anything that would make it a proper film.
I have a feeling that that's mainly because they fail to create a pair of characters that engage with us sufficiently. Because James, think of this movie as being a slightly differently filmed way of doing, Amityville Horror, which all of us pretty much loved, even if the critics hated Amityville Horror. And James Brolin starts out as a really nice guy and turns into a dick. I think maybe the fact that his boyfriend is a dick the whole way through probably makes it difficult to engage.
That's
part of it, but the scare tactics are just so cheap and infantile. Like,
that doesn't bother me. That doesn't bother me. Wait, Julia, what did you say? I'm sorry.
I said that that's the thing with Jack Nicholson in The Shining.
Yeah.
Although actually he does start out kind of as a jerk, but he gets more and more jerky as the film progresses.
But I just want to address this thing real quick. That Drew just said that they're cheap tricks and so forth. To me, this is a question about found footage in general, is what the hell is this genre? Because to some extent, it's like they're not even real movies. It's like when you go to the movies to watch a concert, and I'll still watch a concert movie from time to time. And you go to a movie to watch one of those concert films where somebody filmed Paul McCartney at Madison Square Garden, and you're going to spend $8 to go watch that. And you go, well, what is this thing that I'm spending 90 minutes watching? Is it?
I'm going to refute you. Blair Witch Project, no matter what anybody thinks of it, that's a real movie. There was thought behind it. It was actually some artistic intent. This is cheap, made-for-profit, claptrap, only with none of the charm of a trauma film.
Yeah. Interesting. Of a trauma film. Wow.
None of the charm of a trauma film.
See, but the thing
None.
is, I like this movie, and I can't stand the trauma films. And the reason why, I'll tell you exactly why. And maybe we need to do some trauma films just to see where we land on this. But trauma always just seemed so schlocky and like the worst of Mel Brooks. It just like so so much. Just like
I would rather watch Toxic Avenger all day, every day for a month than to have to endure this movie again or any of its sequels.
I don't know, man. I would watch this over New Trauma.
When
I
I
didn't turn this off.
When I say trauma, I mean Sergeant Kabuki Man, Toxic Avenger, classic Dukamai.
No, that's fine, but man, I turned off. Like I've tried. I realized over the past 2 years, I see what they're trying to do. That's cool, but I realized that New Trauma doesn't. There's nothing for me there now, which kind of made me a little sad, actually. To be honest with you, I was like, but I used to like Trauma. Why can't I have that back? But yeah,
the difference between those. I mean, these are two examples of low-budget filmmaking, right? But the thing is, this movie, okay, the characters, we don't like them very much, and that's a major problem. But with Trauma, you just always have these stupid sight gags and puns and just all this crap that just makes me cringe. Now maybe.
But there are so many times I cringed during this movie. I mean, every time the quote unquote psychic was on,
you didn't like the psychic.
He looks like George Bush.
He what?
He looks like George Bush. How could I like that guy?
That's really funny. I didn't think he looked that much.
No, I didn't like the psychic either because I found him dull. I mean, he's just even we were talking about Amityville Horror, and is that the one? Yeah, that's the one where the guy comes in, the nun comes in. Is that right, Jason? Was it Amityville Horror?
Yes.
Yeah, the nun comes in, and she's like, "Oh no, this house doesn't like me. I got to get out of here," or whatever.
Bye.
That is the same exact scene here, but here it was just dumb. That I did think was completely lame because he just kind of.
He's a terrible wooden actor.
Yeah,
well, there's also
some like me.
There's some false. I was fine with his performance, but there's some poor construction here going on involving the psychics, because they make a big plot point out of, we're going to call the exorcist. We're going to call don't call the exorcist. No, I will. Okay, now I'm going to call the exorcist, and then cut. And then she goes, I called the exorcist, and he's out of the country.
Well, apparently they did film scenes with him, and then they just didn't use them.
But that's dumb. That is really dumb to actually drag the audience along with a plot point that is an important one. All right, and then just simply just dismiss it in one.
Well, it also made the boyfriend seem like an even bigger asshole that this exorcist never shows. It's bad enough that he kept well, that guy's probably a fraud. Never mind the fact that we have actual demons in our apartment, but there could never possibly be such a thing as an exorcist.
Yeah. It's because the boyfriend's a dick. I mean, it literally he puts off calling the exorcist for 2 weeks, and that kills it. But the thing is, they don't present it plot-wise as, they never give it to you so clearly. Listen, by putting this off, we lost the opportunity to talk to the exorcist. Instead, it feels more like an accident, somehow they wrote themselves into a corner and then didn't know where to go.
And there's also this presumption that there's nobody else that they could possibly call. It's what about the local, church, whatever? I mean, is there? And I was just saying, could you burn sage? I don't know, something it seems like they don't do anything else. It's the only thing they're willing to do. And I'm thinking, it seems like they should be trying all kinds of things and just being
calling other people, or
that's what I'm saying, calling the church, calling whoever.
I mean, they would make the movie more expensive, but when this happens in Suspiria, she goes to the local university and she walks around the fountains and talks to that guy. In Witchboard, by the way, this psychic scene is almost identical to the scene in Witchboard. I feel bad citing Witchboard as a I don't know, an exemplar. But, yes.
Witchboard's better than this.
I enjoyed Witchboard a lot. It also has Steve from Days of Our Lives, and it's awesome to see him in a movie. But, yeah, Kathleen Wilhoit played the goofy, she walks in, she has one scene, she's around, she goes, hey, I'm going to check out this house, I'm going to deal with what's going on with this Ouija board you have here. She's got cool John Lennon glasses, she makes funny jokes, she's just, completely loopy. And so in the 8 minutes or whatever it is that Kathleen Wilhoit is on the screen, you're like, wow, this character comes on, makes a bunch of blah, and then leaves, and you're like, wow, that was awesome. There's nothing like that here. This guy is a walking sport coat. But I was fine with him, but I was like, there's an opportunity to do something neat with this character.
That would require them to have some kind of style, which this movie has an abysmal lack of.
It could very well be, and it also would be if that guy were standing here, if he were in on our podcast, he would probably say, but that's not the kind of movie I'm trying to make. I'm trying to make something that feels real. I don't know. I got to guess that that's what he would say. I really have no idea. Yes. You know what? Before we go on to our next topic, let me do the mid-roll of where we talk about our sponsor. Once again, listeners of Castle of Horror, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. I have a new Audible recommendation this week, and that is Shock Value. Shock Value by Jason Zinnemann, and it's all about Wes Craven, Roman Polanski, John Carpenter, and how they took over and changed horror in Hollywood in the 1970s. The book is Shock Value. You can check it out, audibletrial.com/horror for your free audiobook. All right. So let's talk a little bit about, we talked about whether this movie was scary and, and a little bit about the characters. We should mention what exactly is the theory of ghosts and demons in this film. Is it even worth trying to make sense out of what the theory is?
Well, I mean, what they're doing is, actually sounds a lot like a classic poltergeist haunting.
Yes, it is a haunting. He goes, I'm going to call this a haunting. And he says, there's, in this world, basically, he goes, there's ghosts, which are the spirits of human beings. Even the boyfriend, who I guess you're right, is like the most believing person ever in the world. Because even he's like, yeah, a ghost is a human being. Ghost is a human being. That psychic deals with this. Demons are demons who, I don't know. They're like non-human creatures who want to attach themselves and, I guess, control certain humans. In other words, aren't we to understand that this demon is in love with this girl? I mean, that seems to be
I don't know. I think it's just a ruiner.
I don't think you can be in love as a demon. I think it's just obsessed. It's an obsession.
He's mad at the boyfriend.
Yeah, but he's obsessed with the girl.
Okay.
Well,
he does crack.
He
does crack with the picture of the boyfriend. So maybe he just knows.
No, there's no question that he wants the boyfriend out of there. I'm just saying I'm taking issue with the in love.
Tony, what did you say? You were going to say something.
No, well, I think she just can't be happy. Like ever. I mean, if it was a demon, truly, I think it's worse. The worst thing it could do is let her be with this guy.
Right.
And then cackle insanely, ha ha, your life is ruined. He's such a jackass.
Good point.
So that's truly demonic. But yet, I think it's just she can't be happy. Thinking about it too, like the demon parts, like the part with the powder, like the footprint part, and them finding the picture, the burned picture. Like, I don't know. I kind of like that part. Again,
I love that.
It's outweighed by the fact that, she's like, hey, this really shouldn't happen. This is really messed up. And he just eventually goes back to just being the jerk. When obviously all of this is really messed up, and any of this proof could be used, like Drew said. So, yeah, at every turn where you're like, oh, man, that was really creepy. If that happened, that would be really freaky, is undermined by just, like, this other stuff. So,
well, he's such a clown. Like, he has more than enough proof. Like, he's a control freak, I guess. Like, I
told you he wants to be right about everything, even if it means letting his girlfriend be attacked.
But what is he wrong about? Like, he wanted to come in and film and get proof. He's done that.
No,
like, what's his end game now? What's his end game? Like, what, he's just going to keep filming until they're dead, which I guess is kind of what he does.
He's just a Scully. I mean, there's always going to be a character, because Scully was that way. If you watch the X-Files, every time it was always as if she had not seen all the things that had happened thus far, because that's her point and thing is to be.
But that kind of works on episodic television. It doesn't work in a movie where, like,
Yeah.
Like, you're going from one scene where a guy's watching a video where, freaky shit is happening, and then the very next thing, oh, well, this psychic's probably a hoaxer.
Basically, it's implausible. It's just not plausible. And in fact, it's only, and I guess this is a flaw in the construction of the film, because it's only towards the end when he starts showing some elasticity in that character, when he's like, you know what, let's go to a hotel, hey, babe, and then he's worried about that. Only then do you begin to see this guy as somebody with any kind of vulnerability that you care at all about. But by that time you had to put up with this stuff for a long time. By the way, this is a short movie. This movie is like barely 90 minutes long.
But it feels a lot longer than that, and I don't mean it in a bad way. I actually
you
feel like
you can mean it in a bad way. I'm sure.
No, but I don't mean it in a bad way. I actually felt like they packed a lot in.
I would rather go to the dentist than spend 90 minutes watching this movie.
That's really hilarious.
You obviously don't have the same kind of teeth that I have.
I was at the dentist. Why, are they torturing you more? Is it this?
Every time I go, it's like, oh, your filling's coming out. We gotta do. Oh, cavity. Oh, I'm just like, oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Every time.
So I don't know. It is strange because they've chosen, I guess, because of the way the genre works. They're going to stay within the confines of this house. So everything that's going to happen is going to happen here. They're not going to call another exorcist. We're just going to deal with the ghost, and they set up these different set pieces. So they do the thing where they put the powder onto the floor. I don't know. I don't remember what. I think the boyfriend is still trying to. This is why I think if I'm going to assume that the plot is on purpose and it has any semblance of.
I mean, it doesn't matter why he did it, but it has a very important function in the movie, and that is to lead them to the attic.
Well, and it's spooky. I mean, yes, it has. That's right. It is spooky to watch those footsteps appear. That's neat. But I don't know.
I will say something nice about this movie. That is a good special effect right there. There, I said one thing nice.
It is.
Do you not think it's a good special effect when she gets dragged out of her bed? I think that's an awesome special effect.
I think that's a good practical effect and good stunt work, but it's not enough to make me forgive if everything else about the movie is shit.
There's something that people brought up online. Somebody brought this up, and I think if you set aside whether you like this movie or not, I heard somebody goes, this movie's so stupid because you're watching, and they're there all night, and then the clock starts moving slowly, and then something bad is going to happen, so it totally gets rid of the suspense. And I'm like, this is a dumb complaint. I see this one a lot, but it's like, that's a dumb complaint, because the scenes of a movie that you're watching are already the scenes that the movie wants you to see. It's a complaint that is universal to the things that are playing before your eyes in any film. It's like saying...
Yeah, that's not something I would complain about with this movie. I didn't care about that.
Right. I mean, okay, another effect that works really well, since we're just picking things that we like, I really liked the whole business of when she gets up and stands... This is where you have great fear of the person that you live with. She gets up and just stands next to the bed staring at her boyfriend for 2.5 hours. That's great. I mean, that was neat. It was a neat, sort of clever use of the timeline of the sped up photography. That was awesome. That was innovative. And if you polled people and said, hey, what made this movie special? I bet they would say mainly that girl standing there, just standing still for 2.5 hours, which is a hilarious thing to like a movie for. But I honestly believe this is the thing that people remember most about it.
I think it's her getting drugged down the hallway. That's the thing that everybody always talks about.
No, but I agree with Jason that I remembered standing there more than I remembered, because I'd seen it before, more than I remembered the getting dragged. Because I don't think getting dragged feels like any other horror movie, but the standing there is just weird. It's like, what?
It is odd, and the thing is, you can think about your own loved ones and go, well, that would be really weird if it were happening in my own bedroom.
Yeah, it's just creepy. It's not supernatural. It's just weird.
Yes. And actually, you could see that being used in like just a regular horror film, a more psychological horror film with no supernatural elements. Like if you had a crazy roommate who just came into your room and just stood by your bed staring at you. that would be fantastic. I mean, it'd be horrible, but it'd be a great bit, just to realize that your roommate comes in and stares at you all night. Somebody needs to write that. By the way, speaking of other things that I would never want to happen in my own house, why do these guys sleep with that door open all the time?
I know, that was dumb.
It makes no sense. For the listener who somehow has made it this
because
far,
if you didn't, they wouldn't be able to see out in the hallway.
It is visually more interesting. There's the hallway, and there's also just the fact that door being turned towards the camera is more interesting to look at than if it were closed. I think that's it. Yes. Okay. So we talked about the characters such as they are. We talked about the ghosts and demons. So we should talk about what happens at the end, because Joy is exactly right. They are led to the attic where they discover that the demon is in fact obsessed with Katie, because it has a picture of her as a little girl. None of this is a surprise, though, because they've been telling it to us since literally the first scene. She's giving us this plot exposition at the very beginning. I have a demon been following me since I was 8 years old. But whatever. We now confirm it. And eventually... okay. Before we go to the very end, I just want to say the other bit that was really scary is when... she gets up in the middle of the night in a catatonic state and goes down and just sits on the.
I don't think that was that scary.
That wasn't scary?
No.
Okay. Well, that one worked for me, but okay, fair enough. All right. Anyway,
it's just that was more like sleepwalking, which I think many people do.
Yeah, that's true. It turns on the TV, which inevitably reminds us of Poltergeist. But okay, so last night she goes down, after staring at him for 2.5 hours, she goes downstairs. Then she starts screaming. He comes down, and then we hear, noises that we can't quite identify. And then we hear her, just coming up the steps. Something coming up the steps anyway. And in a pretty decent, I think, shock effect, his body flies towards the camera.
Which it totally scared me just now. My daughter was watching the movie, and I was outside, and I looked in the window, and I saw him flying at the camera. I still screamed. Because it's a shock effect. Like you said, you don't expect that, especially because, obviously she's taken on demon strength at this point, because she shouldn't be able to, because he's already dead. The guy's already dead, so she shouldn't be able to carry him upstairs and throw him at a camera.
Shot put him at the camera.
Yeah,
right?
So clearly now she's she's got the demon strength. But so that's pretty scary, and it's different from, of course, they have the alternate ending on the DVD
okay,
as well.
At the end of that, so she comes and she just looks at the camera and she lunges at the camera. But yeah, tell us about the alternate ending.
And she looks demonic as well.
Go ahead, Tony. What's that?
She kind of looks demonic as well.
She looks demonic at the camera. She kind of it's like a sneak thing. That was actually Steven Spielberg's suggestion that they change it to this ending rather than what they had, which is just her coming up with blood all over her shirt, and being like it's implied that she's killed the guy.
And she cuts her neck.
Oh, yeah. And then she cuts her throat. You're right. Yeah.
And that just felt sort of, it just felt a little, it just didn't deliver the way that this does.
Right.
But there was yet another ending that involved a police interrogation and I think it may have still ended with a suicide, but there were police involved and stuff. And that one never even saw the light of day. I think it may have been seen at one of the festivals, but it was not released in the Paramount. One thing Paramount did when it picked up this picture was filmed a couple new endings and tried those out, including the one that we saw in the theater and the extra one that's on the DVD. And also I think some other stuff. I think they added in other scenes, exposition scenes and things like that, which is hilarious to think about because it would mean they'd have to, first of all, go get the house. And it's hard to work out a really solid structure in this film, so it's hard to figure out where the exposition goes. I guess there's the one where he's looking through the coffee table book and declaring himself a demonologist, but I don't know. So, is there anything that I've missed that is worth discussing about this film? Here's a general question that I think will be our final thought. and then we'll go to literally our final thoughts. But here's the general question I have: is that this movie came out in 2007, right? And Blair Witch Project.
No, I think it comes out in 2009, didn't it?
Let's see.
I think that's what it said. That it was filmed in 2006, but it came out in 2009.
Well, the point is, it's within 10 years after Blair Witch Project.
Right.
Okay. And my question is, where is this genre going? Within a decade, we've gone from the Blair Witch Project with the guys running around with video cameras and they're in the woods and so forth, to now, a guy makes a movie where the camera is set up in the kitchen and it's following these two people and ghostly stuff is going on, and that can come out and people go, oh yeah, I know what that is. That's a Blair Witch kind of thing. That's a found footage movie. So is this? I liked this movie. You didn't like this movie, but is this as good as it gets, or does the genre only get worse than this?
I don't know. I thought Troll Hunter. That was the one where I was like, that's where I'm done. Like, that was cool. I like where they took it. I liked it a lot. I think we all universally like Troll Hunter.
The Troll Hunter is awesome.
Yeah. And so, and I did see one, which I don't know if we're covering or not, that was recommended to me by Tim League, that showed at Fantastic Fest. I think it was called Afflicted.
Huh.
And that, I was like, I'm not going to see another found footage movie. Screw that. I'm done. Troll Hunter, that was it. Like, yeah. But Afflicted actually was decent, and I was really surprised. But usually, Tim doesn't usually steer me wrong. He's helped vet some of the movies, so I'm guessing that he dug it. And we, in general, agree, maybe not, I would say 95%. And so I actually liked that one. I don't know where, I have to double check where it's available. But that was the one where I kind of think that at that one I've had enough, Yeah. I was there at Fantastic Fest, so I got to, I was like, oh, I'll go see that. I've already paid. And I was pleasantly surprised. Plus, it was different than a lot of found footage movies that I've seen that ape Blair Witch or definitely ape Paranormal, which I could do without. But up until that point, I was happy to stop altogether with, I'd seen just so much crap that Troll Hunter was going to be that's it, I don't think it can get much better than this.
Do people keep making these movies because they're cheap to make? Is that the idea?
Yeah, well, everybody's hoping it's the same way people write, make the same people, even though it's really hard, and you can make a breakout hit. You can get your money back. But it's like when you hear the success of Angry Birds, for example, and people are like, man, I am going to make this app, and we're going to make so much money because it's on mobile, and that's just how you just make tons of money. Well, by that time, there's so many Angry Birds and Bejeweled. That not to say that I've seen really good games who just can't get any traction because everybody's making this stuff. So I think that's usually the hope. Oh, man, did you hear? Like, if we just run around the woods, we can make that sweet money, too. Oh, I'll just put cameras in my house. I already have security cameras. How hard could it be? Just pull someone down a hall or whatever. So I think there's people who genuinely want to tell a story. And that usually will at least, even if it doesn't make, even if it's not successful, there's a kernel there. And then there's X amount of people who go, oh, well, the way to make the money is going to be to set up some security cameras and do an infrared thing, and we're just going to get that Paranormal Activity money. Woo!
Yeah. I think what you kind of hit the nail on the head for me right there, Tony, is like the difference between this versus Blair Witch is that, I really do feel like there was an attempt to tell like a real story there. I don't know that I see that in this. Although having said that, I'm not going to write off like an entire subgenre. Like if somebody does a really excellent found footage movie, I'll watch a found footage movie if it sounds appealing to me. I'm not gonna like say never, but
Like, I didn't have any people I know loved it. I didn't have any interest. I've never seen, like, Catfish, for example. And just random, and it's not horror, but it's still in that same, like, I don't give a crap about watching these people. Oh, and the really execrable, like, Hellraiser found footage movie. Oh, I turned that off. Oh, yeah, dude, I'd turn it off. Like, the characters in the beginning, I'm just like, okay, I'm out. I'm watching on Netflix. I have that ability. You know, I didn't pay money for this. Be gone. I can't stand you right now.
There are these kinds.
I couldn't even watch it to root for Pinhead. Where normally I'd be like, yeah, just take all these people, just drag them, chain them up, drag them straight to hell, whatever they want. Just take them away. Take them to Leviathan. It's fine. We don't need these people. But I couldn't even muster up enough, like, to stay with it. Like, I was like, man, my time is, I could be doing so many other things, you know, than watching this terrible thing right now. So, yeah.
Think about this for a second. Imagine that Reservoir Dogs was presented in a found footage way. In other words, in every scene, instead of the camera looking at the characters, one of the characters is holding the camera. If they had the same script, I guarantee you that would still be a good movie. You know, so there's room.
Well, I mean,
you know, if you had a good story to tell.
What is it? There's the one recent movie that was told through. I mean, it wasn't the whole thing, but the one with Jake Gyllenhaal. Crap. No.
Right, the one where he's a journalist, right?
No, he's an LA cop. I'm stupid, and I can't remember the name because, of course, why not during my podcast?
Because you're live. It's all right. This happens to me literally all the time.
No, you're talking about the one where, you're talking about the one where the girls are kidnapped or whatever?
No,
he's talking about something else where the guy is
he's a cop.
But they take, you know, parts of it are, you know, from the camera.
Yeah.
Well, not all of it, but
well, anyway,
enough of it. End of watch.
Huh?
End of watch is the name of the movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's shot documentary style. It's fantastic. Like, it's okay that parts of it are through the camera. Well, now, of course, because of the production value, you know, it's not it's not filmed the same way as Blair Witch nor Paranormal Activity. But again, it's a really good movie and it's really well done. So, you know, but yeah, I agree. If Reservoir Dogs was done found footage style, it'd probably be pretty good. Again, Afflicted, you know, I was surprised. It takes a lot for me. Like I said, it takes recommendation from somebody. I'm not going to go out and look. I'm not going to look at a video case or a blurb on Netflix, and if it says found footage, somebody's going to have to tell me, like, oh, man, I really enjoyed that before I'm going to watch it, because usually it's just terrible.
I think the problem is that it's too easy to do a bad version of these. In the same sense that it's hard to write. A book is the cheapest kind of art you can do, right? So anybody can write a book who can string 100,000 words together. I actually can string about 65 or 70,000 words together, and voila, you have a book. So it's very cheap to make a bad one, and it's oddly enough just as cheap to make a good one. It's just that very few of them are good, and I think that's the case. That's the case here too. And if we had a progenitor here who was like going, listen, man, I really like found footage because it's a great democratizer. It gives people an opportunity to tell good stories that they didn't have before because you can do it on the cheap. All true enough, and they're just going to have to overcome exactly what you were talking about, which is you're going to need somebody you truly respect, like Tim League, the proprietor of the Draft House, to personally go, this thing's good. You need to see it, because otherwise,
I'm sure I'll probably miss some stuff, right? Like, and that's unfortunate. And writing it off, you know, maybe that is kind of bad, because, you know, there are some people who are like, look, this is the way I want to tell my story, and I think I can do it for this budget in the way that I want to tell that story. So yes, in fact, I probably will miss some of that unless somebody recommends me. But it just feels like I've been burned enough to where I just have zero interest in that at all. And like I said, there is a troll hunter, and that to me was like, I'm okay with going out on on a high note. So.
Yeah. All right. Let's get let's get our quick final thoughts, because I think we've kind of wrapped up a lot of these. Same direction as before, and we'll try to keep them to about a minute and get to our endorsements. Drew, final thoughts on Paranormal Activity.
This movie sucks. Done.
All right. Drop mic. Okay. Julia, final thoughts, Paranormal Activity?
I don't think this movie sucks.
Excellent. I actually like the direction this is going. I think we should do this.
It's definitely under a minute. That's
okay. Don't feel like you're stuck to their three-word summation.
No, I think it had. I thought it was creepier than what Drew gives it credit for. I think it's not. The hype machine was high, and I was really like, I guess it did some things. I wasn't really. I mean, I didn't need to see it again. You know.
Yeah.
I thought some of the pieces were effective for me, but that's all over the map. Like, I really didn't want to see these characters again. So,
yeah,
you know that. But plus, it spawned, and I've watched. I don't know if I watched the last one, the marked ones, I think it's called. Yeah, I saw all the ones up to that because it just was like, well, maybe where's this headed actually? And I did watch all of them. I guess there's like 4 or 5. All of it the new one anyway. And there's creepy stuff in other ones. There's creepy stuff in. There's one with a family, and that actually had some pretty effective. Like, whoa, that would be terrible if that happened to your family, you know. But again, we've kind of really seen Poltergeist, so it's kind of like, you know. But the parts in that were creepy would be, you know, that was going on in your house. That would be really crazy. But you know, again, like
I was what
I think this is hopefully the last time I'll have to watch this movie.
All right. Very good. I got nothing to add to that other than that, you know, worked for me, but I think, you know, there's a lot of weak points. But the thing is, like 90 minutes long. I found it to be effective. I jumped, thought it was good. You know, hair on the back of my neck. That's good. It's no Changeling, but you know, I thought it's a decent haunted house movie, so I'm okay here. So, all right, let's come around again for endorsements. Drew, do you have anything that you want to share with us this week?
Well, first of all, I have to once again plug some of my upcoming convention appearances for the 15th anniversary of Halloween. And this week, this coming weekend, that would be actually Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, I'm going to be in Dallas for A-Fest, a.k.a. Anime Fest. I will be there selling books. I am going to be there doing some handshaking, some peddling, some general making and spreading the good word of Halloween Man. And I'm going to have a special guest star from the world of Halloween Man at my booth. So if you read the comic and you are at the con, come by, get your picture taken with a real life comic book character.
Outstanding. Okay, Julia, do you have anything you want to lay on us?
Well, we've had a lot of sad deaths this week in the world, and of course Wes Craven being one. We've talked about that on our podcast webpage. But for me, the one that really got me was Dr. Wayne Dyer, because he's probably my favorite author, and I've met him and seen him a couple times. And anyway, so I would like to endorse his work, and particularly, I guess I would go with Excuses Be Gone, which is a really great book about just how to let go of all these excuses that we make to keep us from being our realizing our full potential as much as we can. So for me, that's what I'm going to endorse because I think he's just great. But I'm sure you guys have Wes Craven movies that you would like to endorse, and I'll let you do that.
Well, I think we'll probably get to it soon enough because I know that we're going to do some Craven movies. So yes, so we'll save those. But I think Yeah, no, that's a perfectly good endorsement, is that you got a lot out of Wayne Dyer's work, and that's great. Tony, do you have anything to endorse?
I'm stoked for the Blu-ray for Fury Road, which comes out tomorrow. I can't wait to watch it again, and that's going to be played while I write a lot.
Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, Fury Road. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm super
great.
I endorsed watching Fury Road multiple times instead of ever watching any of the Paranormal Activity movies.
I'm shaking.
I'm sure Fury Road will be joining my writing, like, while I write a lot. So
easily.
I'm super stoked about that.
To attach to that, there was a really, really great, I think it was called The Honest Trailer. Yeah, this series of trailers called Honest Trailers, where they just make fun of various tropes that show up in movies. And they're very cleverly written. So even if this could get really tiresome if there were a million knockoffs of it, the Honest Trailer guys are funny. And they did one for Honest Trailer Mad Max Fury Road. And it is really great and right on. And you know, even though, of course, I really love this movie, they call out a lot of, like, especially the fact that Charlize Theron is essentially the lead in the film, that Max is kind of, he's sort of our entree to her story in a way. And
I was totally down with that, actually. So,
you know, it's even in the title. It's Fury Road, and her name is Furiosa. It's like this is Mad Max : Fury Road, like this is a novel series, and here's going to be one that's kind of about this character.
Well, I always felt that's sort of the way, I mean, you know, okay, the original Mad Max, yes, but like Road Warrior and Thunderdome are more about Max reacting to things, which I felt like Fury Road was more or less in line with that.
I think that's fair. I mean, I think, you know, they always end with him walking into the desert and leaving the other people to sort of see their own destiny through, right? So, yeah, no, it's totally in line with Road Warrior. I mean, my God. When Tony endorsed that film, by the way, I had not seen it. I now have seen it. I think it's probably one of my favorite movies of the whole year. So, okay, my endorsement is a new Blu-ray of The Hunger. The Hunger is out on Blu-ray, and it's beautiful. My gosh.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So very blue, and it has this wonderful commentary from director Tony Scott and Susan Sarandon, and, you know, they're commenting all the way through, and Sarandon is pointing out, you know, what she loved about the film and what didn't work. She's completely open about the fact that the ending completely falls apart, and it's still a great film. Neat. So I have to endorse the new Blu-ray of The Hunger. I love it. So, all right.
Can I get one more endorsement in?
Yeah.
I apologize for tail ending you.
Go crazy.
I want to give a shout out to Dave of Dave TV, which is a local cable access show that showcases Austin bands with live performances, and he had Jamie's band Danger Cakes on it this weekend, and the entire show is actually up on the Dave TV website. So if you hear us reference Jamie's band a lot on this show, this would be a way you could watch a live performance without having to come to the United States of America for our overseas viewers or listeners, I should say. But Dave is an awesome dude. He's the local punk rock hero, as far as I'm concerned, and it was cool seeing him work.
Dave, I'll definitely. Dave is one of the most stand-up dudes in the scene, and B, has one of the best shows, and one of the biggest supporters of music. Like, and one of those guys who's constantly out there watching music. He's not just like, oh, do some music things. So that's awesome. And that's awesome that she was on there, because Dave TV is really good. I was watching it back when I had cable access when I first moved here. So, yeah, that's super cool.
You'll have to post about it. All right, that wraps up our look at Paranormal Activity and brings us 1 week closer to the end of our reckoning with this important new genre that none of us knows quite what to do with. So, thank you. If you want to pick apart anything that we've said or raise a new topic, we will totally engage with you on our Facebook page. Look for us, Castle of Horror, somewhere on Facebook. Just search it.
If you really love this movie and want to take me on, bring it.
Bring it. And bring yourself to Denver for the Colorado Horror Con on Halloween.
Yes.
And you can bring it to Drew personally, and I can hold you back from the bringing. So, and let's see. Leave reviews for us on iTunes. Honestly, we've gotten such great reviews, and getting the reviews helps our ranking on iTunes, which in turn helps people find the show, and that brings more people to it, and bring more people to listen. And thank you so much to those of you who are there every week. It means so much to us. So, thanks, everybody. We will talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Night.
Bye.